Hello guys, in this video we'll build a payment gateway integration using Rust. Basically we all have used the checkout feature, be it any e-commerce store or booking our next trip on an OTA, where we have to pay to make our booking or make our purchase. So in this video we'll create a clone of a checkout application. Basically we are building a full stack application. We'll not use WebAssembly today. Instead, for frontend we'll use NextJS, and for backend we'll use Rust. And for processing our payments, we'll use Stripe. So in this video, we'll also learn how to integrate Stripe with Rust. So let's begin. So first of all, head to your favorite browser and let's see how can we create an account on Stripe and generate our test credentials and use it. So once you are in your favorite browser, just search for stripe.com and sign up. I already have an account, and the homepage or dashboard should look something like this depending on when you are watching this video. And you can scroll down here and see all the analytics and metrics related to your calls that you made to Stripe. And go to settings. There is an option for developers. Just press it, and here also you can see your integration metrics, basically request, errors, and all different things. Then there is a tab for API keys. Just press it, and here you will find a secret key. So just press reveal test key and copy this key. We'll need this key to integrate with Stripe. So make sure you follow these steps and generate the key. So back to our ID, and by now I assume that you guys already created your Stripe account and have your test key. Go to the project explorer, make sure you are in a nice and clean project, and open your terminal and just do cargo new backend. So we'll just create one Rust package today for backend, as for frontend we'll be using a Next.js package or project. So let's also create our Next.js project. I'll be using Yarn as the package manager. If you don't have Yarn installed on your machine, I'll drop a link to the installation in the description, so you can just follow it and install it. So we'll just do Yarn create next app and the name. So let's say I'll just name it as frontend. So just press yes, yes, no, yes, yes, no. So it might take a few moments. Let's wait. Okay, so we have our front-end directory. We have our backend directory. So let's go ahead and first of all, we start coding on our backend, and then we'll move to the front-end side. So let's close our readme, and in the backend project, we'll go to cargo terminal to add the dependencies first. So the first dependency we'll add is async Stripe, which is SDK for Stripe, with version as latest and features as RT Tokyo Hyper. And then we'll just add Tokyo for async programming, version latest, features full. Then we'll add .env to read our secrets, and ActixWeb for our web server, and with version as latest. And then we'll add Surday for serialization and deserialization with version latest, features as derive. And then we'll add Actix cores, because we'll be requesting from browser, so we need cores as well. So once all the dependencies are added, make sure to build your project. So go back to your project explorer, and in the root of your backend project, add a .env to add our secrets. So the first secret we have is Stripe key. The next thing is not actually a secret, but since we have an environment file, let's place it, which is a success page. So whenever our payment on Stripe is successfully processed, we want Stripe to redirect the user back to this page, and the page will create on localhost port 3000, and let's say success. Similarly, failure page, in case the payment process fail, we want Stripe to redirect our user to this page, fail. So these pages will add when we move to the front end side, and then here you can paste your Stripe key. So once we have our secrets added, close the environment file and move back to the project explorer. So in our backend project, in src, add the app state, payload, and payment. So let's go ahead and start with the payload first. So basically here we'll add a struct when frontend request to create a Stripe session will return this as the response. So pub struct payment session response and pub URL as string. So derive as serialize. Now in this video, we'll not be connecting to any database. We'll just use the mock data because I want to keep the focus of this video on how to integrate the Rust application with Stripe, how to process the payments, how to redirect to success and failure page, and how to send the details to Stripe and all those things. So we'll just keep it minimal with mock data, but the concept remains the same. So let's move to payment RS, where we'll add the code to create a payment session and send the URL to the front end, and then we'll move to the front end part. So let's go to the payment. So here we'll add a struct payment and add a client, which is a Stripe client, and we'll just do impl payment and pub fn new payment. Now just do .env .ok, and then we'll read our secret. So secret key environment variable, and here we'll just read the Stripe key and expect Stripe key cannot be empty, and then we'll just create a client by passing the key secret key and return payment, and we don't need this payment of client. So this is to create the new Stripe client, and then we'll just add pub async create Stripe session and pass self, and this returns a string, which is the session URL. So if we were to connect to any DB to retrieve order or product details, then we would have made some queries here and there. But in this video, we are primarily focusing on integration with Stripe, and we can use some mock data. So let's do that. So first of all, we have to create the product on Stripe. So let product actually, and we'll just do let mutable create product, create product new, and then pass the product name. So let's say I'm just passing shoes, and once we have this, we can add more details like metadata and different other things, but I'll focus on the name just. And once we have create product, we'll just do product and create, pass the immutable Stripe client and create product await dot unwrap. So as you can see, we have our product. Now let's create price for this product on Stripe. So price, create price, and new, pass the currency. So currency, I'll just use USD. You can use any currency. And then we'll just do create price dot product, for which product is this price. So we have to associate with ID. So ID or create ID, and product dot ID. So we have product ID, and then again we can add multiple other details related to price, like unit amount and basically billing scheme, currency options, and all those things, but we'll just stick with unit amount to add the amount per unit, and this amount will be in cents. So let's say if I write 1,000, so it's write $10, and then create price on expand what it should show, and we'll just add product. So now let's go ahead, and once we have our price, create price, we'll just do let price is equals to price and create, pass the client and call create price, await, unwrap. So we have our price as well added to the Stripe. By now you might be thinking, why are we passing product details to Stripe? You can literally also pass customer details as well. And why? Once user is redirected to the Stripe portal, he can literally see all those details and confirm that this is exactly what he purchased and he's paying for the exact same things. And now we'll just read the URL for our success and failure page. So success page, environment, variable, success page that we added in the environment variables earlier. Then failure page, environment variable, failure page. And once we have these, we'll just create the checkout session. Create checkout session, new, and what we'll do here is session dot cancel URL. So basically if the payment is cancelled or failed, so basically we'll just add to the failure page. And then similarly, if it's successful, then we'll redirect to the success page. And if and you can also set the details related to customer. So as you can see, customer, I'll just set to none. And then we have the mode. So session dot mode and some checkout session mode payment. So there are two other modes as well, subscription and setup. And then we have session line items. So some what it should show and how it should show. So we'll just to create session line items and quantity as how much quantity. So let's say the product is around like 3 or let's say 4 quantity, and price of this product is some price of id dot to string. And lastly, we'll just use everything else as default. So once we have all these, we'll just do params dot or session dot expand, and on expand just show line items and line items dot data dot price dot product. So we have all these things. Let's create this checkout session. So checkout session, checkout session. Let's not use this. Checkout session create, and we have to pass the Stripe client and the session that we just created, and then await, unwrap. So once we have it, we'll just return with checkout session dot URL unwrap. So this is the value that we return as a string. Create Stripe session. So we have our payment ready. Now let's go to app state and add our app state. So right here, we'll just add a struct pub app state, pub payment, and impl app state, not the app, and pub fn new, return the app state. And once we return the app state, we'll just do payment new to initialize Stripe object that we have, and app state, return the payment. So when we initialize the app state, it basically creates a new Stripe client as well. So we have our app state now. Let's go to the main where we add our serving part. So first of all, we'll just remove this and add async fn create payment session as the handler for our request. Right now, we'll just pass an empty request, And so if you are designing this full-fledged, then just make sure you don't pass your price and quantity from front end. If you do, then users can literally change the price to 0 and call your API and it will process. So it's a different concept on how you manage your cart and everything on the backend, which we'll see in another video. That's why I'm not covering those concepts here. Otherwise, the video would go forever. So we'll just cover the part where we check out in this. So let URL state dot payment dot create stripe session await let response and payment session response URL and then HTTP response okay dot JSON response. So we have our handler ready using fn man std io result, and let's make this actix webman. So we have our actix webman as well. Let app state web data new app state and new. Actually we don't need Tokyo, so let's remove it since we are not using it. Man and HTTP server new move. So let course as default. Right now we allow any origin and we allow any method and we allow any header. And once we have our course, we'll just do app new and app data as app state.clone and wrap with course and route to /checkout, which I'll for now add as a post request. Create payment session, and once we have all these details, we'll just bind on port 4000 and unwrap, run and await. So that's all that we need to spin up our backend. So we have our backend ready. Now let's move to the next app. So first of all, move to the terminal and let's add the dependency that we'll need. So make sure you are in the front end and just do yarn add Axios. Axios will be using to request to our backend. So once we have Axios, let's close the terminal and close all of the tabs and move to SRC. So once we are in SRC, we can delete everything that's under app, which is the default page. So once we delete that, add a pages directory inside SRC and add index.tsx, a success.tsx and a fail.tsx. So first let's design our success and failure page, and then we'll move to the index page where we'll add our main component. So let's begin. So just a very basic React component and const success React functional component, and right here we'll just do return div and div. So inside we'll just do h1 and messages success. Now let's add a bit of styling. So const styles, and as I always say, wasting time on CSS is not worth it. I'll just do it and then show you guys. So there is our CSS. I'll just drop it in the description in the assets and you can copy as well, just some basic CSS. And now let's use it. So in the first div we'll just do style, and here we'll just do styles dot container Similarly, style and styles.card, and finally styles.message. So we use all of our styles, and let's export our component. So we'll just do export default success. We could have created a component separately, but since it's very minimal, so I added it in the page. But make sure the name of your file is same to the name that we will be pointing in our backend for success fail. So similarly, we copy all of this for fail, and instead of success, we'll just do fail to process payment. Try again, and here instead of green color, we'll use red color. So A7 282C. So here we go. So we have our fail and success ready. Let's go to index.tsx. Again, we can create components separately and just refer here in the pages, but I'll just add it here because it's very basic component that we have. So we'll just do const checkout and react.fc. So const loading and set loading. This is just to set the state, and use state as false initially, and we'll just add a bit of HTML for component. So div and style, which we'll add in a minute. Similarly div, similarly button, and button will just say if it's loading, let's name this as loading. So if it's loading, we want to show as processing, and otherwise checkout. So let's add on click, which we'll set in a minute, and style again, let's set it and disabled. So button will be disabled when it's loading, so user just not bombarded by clicking again and again. So we have our React FC. Similarly, let's add the styles. So you don't need to worry about these styles, and I'll just drop in the description. You guys can copy, and let's go to use it. So we'll just do styles dot container, similarly style dot card, and finally here we'll just do styles dot button to use the style that we added for button, and we can set to a different color as well from the picker. So let's set something like this, and once we have our everything, let's add on click. So const handle checkout async, and set loading as true, try. So const response is equals to await, and we'll use Axios to post on the URL that we have, which is basically HTTP and localhost port 4000, which is where we spin up our backend. And once we have the response, we'll just do response.status. If it's a 200 okay, then we'll just extract the URL and doing response.data as URL string, and we'll just open it in a new tab by using window URL and blank. So we have our URL to open in a new window, and if that's not the case, if we don't get a success response, then we can console log saying unexpected response and add the response. So we have our everything ready here. Let's add a catch. Error console dot error checkout error, and set the error, and finally we can set the loading as false. So we have everything nice and clean to send the request and handle checkout, which we'll use right here. And similarly, if we want to use, we can export. So let's export, and we can just say export default checkout. So we have our checkout here. We have all our pages ready. Now let's go ahead and run our application. So open your terminal. So first of all, we'll spin up our backend, cd to backend, and we'll just do cargo run. Similarly, we'll go to the other terminal tab and we'll just do cd to frontend, and we'll just do yarn dev. So we have our frontend. Now let's go ahead and open in our favorite browser and test our application. So here you go, the first look of our application looks nice and clean, and we have our checkout button. Just press checkout. As you can see, processing, and we are redirected to a Stripe URL where it shows our item, shoes, and total. So the quantity is 4 and per item is 10 each. So we can fill our details here. Now you can go to this URL, test numbers on Stripe, and we have the test cards which you can use for testing. So as you can see, it's a Visa card, and these digits, any future debt, and it will allow you. So let's go here and we can use any email. So let's say abc@semicolon.com, and we can use 424242, and it's a Visa card, any debt from the future. So let's say 34 CVC 123, card holder name as Jack, and we press pay. So as you can see, processing, and processing success, and it redirects us to our success page.